Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is gonna be my middle grade March wrap up. If you don't know, Middle Grade March is exactly what the name says. It is a whole month where we try to read as much middle grade as we want, as we can, as there is out there, and there is a lot. And I'm very grateful to the creators and the hosts of this readathon who put so much thought into it and who remind us every year to go and pick up our middle grade books from our TBR. I put a post up on my Instagram that showed the middle grades that I would have liked to get to in March, based on the prompts that the creators put out. They put together 5 prompts and I had a book or 2 for all the prompts. I ended up reading 5 books, but they were all for 1 prompt. I had so many good ideas for the rest of the prompts, but I ended up only reading books that had an animal on the cover. I'm a sucker for animals and stories and on covers, and of course those were the ones that I gravitated towards, but it's fine. I did read more middle grade in March than I did in February and in January. Those months I only read 1 middle grade each, and now I read so many, and I'm really happy that I finally got around to some of them because some of them have been around for some time. One of them I actually had an arc for since 2019 and I finally picked it up and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I'm gonna put all the relevant information to this readathon down in the description box, so go check it out. I'm gonna link the hosts and the creators of this readathon. Check out their videos and see if there are some middle grade books that you wanna maybe pick up in the future. But now let's get to the books that I got to read in March. So the first book that I read was Forgotten 5, Map of Flames by Lisa McMahon. This is the first in a series. I actually got the sequel to this as an arc, and when I got it I didn't realize that it was a sequel, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and pick up the first book, and now I've finally read it. I have not yet read the sequel, but I will pick it up at some point. I enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 stars. This is the story of 8 individuals who are kind of infamous in this world. They have supernatural abilities and they were taking part in a heist. They are supposed to have robbed a lot of money and some diamonds, and then they fled the jurisdiction and were never seen again. We as a reader know that they actually went off-grid to live on a peninsula. They created their own little society and they all had children, 5 of them in fact, and all was fine until some of them decided to go get more rations and supplies and they never came back. So another couple of people went out to look for them and they also didn't return, leaving just 1 adult to look after these 5 special kids. And when we start this novel, this parent has just died. So these 5 kids are now on their own. They don't know what happened to the rest of their parents, if they're alive, if they're captured. They've lived their whole lives on this peninsula, away from civilization, away from other people. They only know each other and they only know what their parents have told them, which is that in the rest of the world, people with supernatural abilities were frowned upon. They were considered dangerous and locked up, and they were supposed to stay hidden at all costs and don't go out into the real world. Now, of course, they don't know what to do. They think, okay, maybe we should just stay here, stay safe where our parents could come back and help us and find us, and we could all be together again. But one of them actually finds a map drawn by the last parent alive, where he tells her to go find her mother, give her this map, which she thinks shows where the parents hid their treasure when they were fleeing jurisdiction. So she plans on going on her own because she doesn't want her brother to get into trouble. And some of the others are more or less tied to this peninsula because they have abilities that they can't really hide. All of them have very unique abilities. We have her brother, the main character's brother, who is kind of indestructible. Like, he can fall from somewhere very high and just bounce back up, and I think he also can heal very quickly. We have the main character who can communicate with animals. We have someone who is a very good swimmer. He can hold his breath for a very long time, but then we also have one boy who is camouflaged all the time. He can't stop it. He's just always camouflaged, so they don't know really what he looks like, which is kind of sad. Maybe sometimes they can see the outline of him, and of course they can see like what he's wearing, but other than that he's kind of invisible, which makes it hard for him to even consider going into town and finding out what happened to their families. I really enjoyed just the found family aspect of them. They are just a group of people who don't really know what's happening outside of their compound. And of course they do and end up making their way to this city, finding out more about their parents and what happened way back when they did the heist. And now I thought that they would actually get moving and get into the story way quicker than it ended up being. I think it was like 50% in when they actually arrived at the city, and that part I really enjoyed because it was really hilarious to see, like, they don't know like running water, they don't know how street lamps work or like cars, and just the amount of people living there and how do they all know each other and how do they communicate. And it's really interesting to see, and it is very well done to see this kind of growing up in isolation meeting this new reality that they have to be a part of. It was a very long wind up for something that wasn't really that interesting in the end. Like, I wasn't really that surprised or that interested in what happens in the end, which means that I wasn't really intrigued enough to go ahead and just pick up the sequel. I could have, because like I said, I had the arc, and I also at this point when I read it had the audiobook for the second book, but I gave it back to my library because I just wasn't more interested in finding out what's going on after the first book. But I am guessing that I'm gonna pick it up at some point. I do really like the characters, and I kind of want to know what happens after this, but yeah, maybe not right away. Next up, we have the book that I've had since 2019. This is an arc that I got when I went to a book event in 2019, The Vanderbeekers to the Rescue by Karina Jan Glaser. This is the second book in the series that I myself read, but it actually is the third book in the series. But I find that even though they mentioned what happens in the book that I haven't read, I don't mind. I don't feel like I'm spoiled. I could still go back and read it. And I picked up this one instead of the other one that I haven't read yet because this is actually taking place during spring break. So it was perfect just to read in March. This was actually, like I said in the intro, this was my 5-star and I'm so happy about it. This is about a family, the Vanderbeekers. This follows the kids after they created unknowingly a lot of chaos for the family. Their mother is a baker who bakes at home and then sells her things, and she is supposed to be interviewed by a magazine to show like what she does and to get more publicity for her. Everyone is very excited, but then one day someone comes to their door and the kids let him in, and he is actually there to see if she does everything after regulation. So this inspector tells them, sorry, this is a no-go. There are kids here, the kitchen is not closed off, there are animals here, this can't happen. So she gets shut down, and the kids know, oh my god, this interview can't happen, and now we destroyed our mother's reputation and her business. Now I'm saying they did it because they let the inspector in, and the mother was like, don't let anyone in, let him wait outside until I come home, and they didn't, and so they feel like they destroyed her business. They are adamant of trying to save it, so they don't tell her about the inspector. They say that he will come back at a later point, and then they go out and try to save the whole situation. Now the problem is that of course their mother can't find out. Everything that they do kind of creates more chaos, and they have another problem because some anonymous person is always leaving them more animals on their lawn every day, and they don't know who it is or why it keeps leaving like guinea pigs and kittens and stuff on their like front lawn, and they have to kind of figure out what to do with these animals because now the inspector is gonna have more of a problem with their mother's baking in this house. It was really fun, it was chaotic. I loved the kids, their relationship, like the way that they went about it. I loved the whole family aspect of it, and I can't wait to read more of this family, and really highly recommend, if you don't know the series already, go and check it out. The next 3 books that I'm going to mention are German. I'm really sorry. I'm going to try to keep it brief. I did read them during March and I wanted to mention them really quickly. So the first book that I read was Sabine Bohlmann's Willkommen bei den Grauses. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is a really cute, very young middle grade, maybe even going like in elementary school age range. This is about a family of supernaturals who have the opportunity to move into a house surrounded by human families, and they are very excited. They really want to be part of the society, and they want to fit in, but in order to do that they have to comply to some rules. Some of them have more problems with these rules than others, and one of the rules is that no one is supposed to know that they are supernaturals. The parents are like vampires, one of the kids who is part werewolf, one who's a ghost so you can't really see her. The grandfather is kind of like I don't really know the English word, like a Waldschrat. So he's kind of like a grumpy old guy living in the woods kind of creature. And one of the rules is that nobody is supposed to know about them, and that nobody is allowed to like say specific words like scary, or they can't scream when they see them, and whenever that happens they get like a negative point on their record. Especially like the old grandpa dude, he has a really hard time trying to fit in, and so he racks up the points, and the whole family kind of needs to guide him through this whole situation. And the kids make friends like with the neighbor kid, because she of course finds out very quickly that there's something weird going on with that family. So it is very chaotic, very unique, very quirky, and I really enjoyed it. Next up we have the fourth book in a series, and it's called Am schönsten ist es in Summerby, and it's written by Kirsten Boye. And this is another series like with the Vanderbeekers that have books representing certain seasons, and this is again a spring book. So this is really great to read in March as well. And I found this series when I read the winter Christmas novel, and again I read it out of order. So I have not read the first two books, but then I read the Christmas book and now the spring book. Now this is the story of a family. Like in the first book they are estranged to their grandmother, and the kids find out that they have to spend the holidays with her. They are not happy about it because the grandmother lives off the coast on a little island and there's no internet, they can't use their phones, and there's just nature and people and ugh. So they kind of over the course of these books have to find out that it's actually fun to live with their grandmother for a time, and they make friends and stuff. It is a very cute series, and I do want to go back and read the first two books of this. And now in this fourth installment they, like I said, go there for spring break. Everybody has kind of their own thing going on. The oldest daughter is helping out her boyfriend's mother because he is off on like a student exchange thing, and the mother has an accident and can't keep up with her cafe, and so the oldest daughter is trying to help out while also dealing with her jealousy issues after finding out that the mother got a picture of her son with another girl. The younger brothers are, one of them is trying to take care of a rabbit, and the other one is hiding a runaway girl who says she's a princess and he needs to save her from someone. So we have all these different plot lines going on, and that's kind of why I only gave it, what did I say, I gave it 3.5 stars as well. I was kind of missing like the family aspect of this. Everybody was doing their own thing, and we only get a few scenes at the very end where they all interact together. And also I didn't really like how the women and females were portrayed in this one, because they were all kind of catty and jealous and didn't really come off as such great characters, while the boys were kind of the nice ones and the very like cuddly ones. And I was kind of hoping for the women to not be portrayed as like a catty insecure girl, and the mother as well, and the grandmother, they were all kind of cranky, and I didn't really appreciate it. So only 3.5 stars, but I would read more of this author. And then we have another German book. This is the 6th installment of this series, and I've read all of them, but it is gonna be, for me at least, the last book that I'm gonna read of this. I gave it 3 stars, and that's Rory Shy, and this one is called Die Erpressung des Soßenkönigs. This is a story about, like the name says, a very shy detective. He is world-renowned. Everybody knows that he solves every crime that he investigates. Nobody knows that he actually has a gift. After getting hit on the head in one case, he now has an ability that helps him solve these crimes without having to interact too much with people. And in the first book, he meets Matilda, who is a little girl, with her dog being her sidekick. He's very scared of everything, like squirrels and stuff. He's not much help. She helps Rory out in a very sticky situation, and now she made him promise that she can help him with some of his cases, and she does, and they solve cases together. I really enjoyed the first couple of books in this series. I enjoyed the character. I really like Matilda. I like the way that these cases were solved, and you can actually go and do a kind of like a solve along, because it is very like Agatha Christie style, where there are only a couple of people who could have done it, and you kind of have to figure out who was where, when, and who knew what, and who did it in the end. And I know when I say that I figured it out right away that I'm not the person that this was written for. So take it with a grain of salt. Of course, I'm not the intended audience. But the other cases I really enjoyed. They were kind of cases where I, even as an adult, had to be like, ooh, that was quite good how you put it all together, and like the red herrings and things. But with this one, yeah, I kind of knew right away when the situation was told, like what happened. I was like, this is how it happened, this is who did it, and it turned out it was like that. And the rest of it was only okay. It wasn't really grabbing my attention much. It was kind of more of the same, and I kind of see that this is a series that doesn't really evolve with the next book. It is always kind of going to be kind of the same. We also have like the same situations at home with Matilda. We have the same situations with her parents, and with the interactions between her and Rory. And so I'm kind of done with this series. Not because I think it's a bad series, it's just I think I've read enough of it. I am still gonna recommend it to young readers. I still think it's a very good series, but for me, I think this is the end for it. And the last thing that I read for the Middle Grade March Readathon is gonna be Spy Family Volume 2. I finally got around to reading the second installment for this series. This is a manga series that follows a very cute family, but a very unique family as well, because we have Lloyd, who is a spy, and we have this kind of world that is based on the Cold War in Germany. So we have different sides that are spying on each other, and Lloyd is a spy whose next target is a very reclusive guy that is only seen once a year when he goes to his son's school. So the mission for Lloyd is to make up a family, get like a wife, get a kid, and get that kid into that school, so that when this next target is next seen, Lloyd will be there. So he goes and he adopts a little kid, like a little girl, and he meets someone, and they have kind of like a fake relationship going on. I don't really remember why she, like, what is her reasoning, her official reasoning for going with him on this, but in reality she is actually an assassin. So that's also kind of why she needs like a cover in order to keep up pretenses. And what those two don't know is that the little girl that they adopted is a telepath. So she knows that these two have their own agendas. She knows one is a spy, one is an assassin, and she knows like what the mission is, and she just wants to have this family, and she wants to help out, and she wants to do her part. And it's just such a cute way of seeing this family interact and grow to love each other, and it's such a cute story. So I'm really hoping to at some point continue with the series, and I'm really happy that I finally got around to reading this volume, and I gave it 4 stars. Those were the books that I read for this readathon. I started another book that I couldn't finish before the readathon ended, and that is New Dragon City by Mary Mancusi. This is set in a dystopian world a couple of years after the dragon apocalypse. The main character's family was able to go into a bunker and survive a couple of years before going back up to the surface and finding out that there were survivors after the dragon's attacks. And now they kind of have this routine of living above ground whenever the dragons go into hibernation, and whenever the dragons come back, they have to go into the subways to survive. But it seems every year that the dragons get back earlier, and now the group was kind of surprised by one dragon, and they kind of have to pack up everything really quickly and go into hiding before more dragons arrive. But 2 months ago, the main character's mother vanished. That he doesn't really know what happened. It is kind of known that she's probably dead, or is gonna be dead if she doesn't go into hiding now with them. And his father decides to stay above ground to try to find her and try to save her. And the main character is ditching the group to stay with him and try to fight for his family. I'm guessing that there is something that he doesn't know about the whole dragon situation. He just met one little baby dragon, and even though the other interactions with the dragons were very volatile and very like chaotic, and a lot of fire was spit and people were kind of carried off, with this baby dragon, it is very cute and it just wants to eat the apple that he's holding and isn't attacking him or anything. So there's something to think about. Like, maybe dragons aren't the monsters that they are made out to be. This scene did have a very How to Train Your Dragon vibe to it, but I'm here for it and I kind of want to see where this one's going, and I want to see like what happened to his mother and if he can find her. So I will continue with that one, but I didn't get around to finishing it in March, and I haven't so far in April, but I am hoping to get back to it. So that's it for my middle grade March readathon wrap up. Let me know down in the comments if you read any great middle grades that I should check out, if you've read any of the ones that I mentioned and what you thought about them. And I would love it if you like this video and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos coming soon. I can already tell you that there are going to be 2 more videos for my March wrap up. So we have another video coming for my final book support group wrap up, books that I read during the last round that was happening in March as well. And then we have another video with everything else that I read during March that had nothing to do with middle grade March or with the final book support group. So go ahead and subscribe if you want to get notified when I post those videos. And until next time, I hope you have all the great reads. Bye!